Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. For today guys, I want to do part 218 to my ChatGPT Character Chatbot series. Where, let me go and tell you guys, I need to do this again. I know I told you I got done with this about an hour or two ago, but I need to do this again. I actually know it's been like 2 or 3 hours by this point, but either way, I need to do it again. It's just, I let's just go and say, after I ended off the video, I got extremely stressed. If we can find the dog barking from the last video and everything else going wrong, well, yeah, I wasn't happy. Here's what I said to the Lugia. Instead of actually saying anything, I just started backing away a bit, terrified of getting hurt, while whimpering. I got so scared, in fact, that I started crying. Yeah, because I was in a tiny water form and I didn't have any help, so here we go. Your claws scraped backward through the fallen leaves and dirt, your small frame trembling as you took step after terrified step away from the massive creature before you. The cold night air felt like ice against your skin, and a heavy, unnatural orange glow from the jack-o'-lantern Lugia's body painted the world in a sickly, haunted light. Oh, that's creepy. Oh my gosh, it's already creepy. You backed away more, then more, until your legs started to tremble beneath you. Your body shook violently, unable to keep still, your chest rising and falling with rapid breaths. Your vision blurred with tears, and before you could stop it, they began to spill down your snout, falling to the ground below. You whimpered, small, soft sounds, frightened sounds, raw, innocent fear, the kind that pierced deeper than any attack could. Above you, the cursed Lugia's massive wings paused in the air. The jack-o'-lantern faces on them twitching between expressions, one sneering, the other frowning. His glowing eyes bore into you as you cried, and something in his monstrous body hesitated. The fire burning in his wings didn't fade. The glow from the stem on his head didn't dim, but his movements slowed. Your soft cries echoed through the woods, drifting past the flickering jack-o'-lanterns and to the twisted trees like a lullaby of sorrow. For a brief second, the forest seemed to quiet itself, like it too was watching what would happen next. And from within that terrifying body, that monstrous form, you heard that voice again, softer now, closer, and desperate. I didn't want this. I didn't want to scare you. Why did they curse me? The giant creature flinched. He raised his wing again, but this time it shook. It wasn't anger. It was confusion, conflict, even pain. The jack-o'-lantern face on his belly flickered, his grin twitching as if it were fighting against something deeper inside. He looked down at you again, and through the glow, through the terrifying power, he saw your eyes, your tears, and for a second, a real second, the jack-o'-lantern face stopped smiling. His body trembled. He didn't strike, but the cursed energy still swirled around him, forcing him to stay in this twisted form. The jack-o'-lanterns in the woods pulsing, demanding violence. He growled deeply, wings flowing closer to his sides, clenching his claws like he was resisting his own power. You were still crying, still scared, but maybe something inside that monster recognized your pain, and maybe he didn't want to be a monster anymore. What the frick? Okay then. Alright guys, even with the Lugia talking a little bit more, I did still get kind of terrified and then back away a little more. However, I was still so shaken up by the incident that I couldn't keep balance and fell on the ground. Oh dear, and the first thing it shows is the word thump. That's great. Your small raptor body hit the ground with a jolt, leaves and dirt scattering beneath you as you collapse onto your side. Your claws dug helplessly into the soil, trembling too hard to find footing. You tried to push yourself up, but your limbs gave out. The overwhelming fear, the confusion, the pressure in the air, It was too much. You lay there, cold slightly, chest rising and falling rapidly as quiet sobs shook through you. Tears streaked down your face, your body frozen in place as the monstrous jack-o'-lantern Lugia stood above you. Writhed in cursed orange glow, tolerating like some forgotten. Oh my gosh! What? Writhed in cursed orange glow and towering like some forgotten god. And still, you wondered, yep, why me? You had no answer, no defense, just fear. But something was changing. The glow on his wings still burned. The carved faces on his belly and arms still flickered. But now they didn't look triumphant, not gleeful. They looked afraid. Does that mean his pumpkin faces on his body can just change depending on how he looks or how he feels? I don't remember if I made that a feature or not. The jack-o'-lantern face on his belly twitched, his smile trying to return, but faltering. The cracks in his disguise weren't physical anymore. They were emotional. Your helpless form, small, terrified, crying on the ground, was doing what no army, no blast, and no spell ever had. It was reaching the true Lugia trapped within. The great beast trembled again, jack-o'-lantern face on his wings distorted, one flashing an expression of sorrow, the other one frozen in wide-eyed shock. His claws lowered. He didn't step forward. He didn't roar. He just stood there, silent. And then his wings began to lower slowly. The cursed orange glow around them dimmed just a little. His breathing grew heavier, not with fury, but with conflict. He looked down at you, and his body shook. His mouth didn't move, but you heard it again, fainter and hurting. I didn't mean to. I thought you would run, like all the others. I didn't want to hurt you. Why didn't you run? Oh dear. Cursed form was hesitating, because your tears weren't just a shield, they were a mirror. And for the first time in 30 years, someone was crying in front of Lugia, not running from him. And now, the monster didn't know if he could strike at all. Holy crap. Guys, the Lieutenant asked me a question, but again, what are you supposed to do when you're horrified like that? It says, still crying and kind of horrified. I say, please, I'm begging you, don't hurt me. I've been hurt enough. Holy crap. Your voice came out soft, broken, very more than a whisper through your sobs. Holy crap. Yep. The words hung in the cold air like a fragile thread, barely holding you together. You lay there trembling on the forest floor, your small raptor form shivering in fear, heart pounding in your chest, your claws curled against the dirt, tears straining down your face as you pleaded not for victory, but for mercy. Holy crap. And at that moment, something inside the jack-o'-lantern Lugia broke. Not like a snap, not like a collapse, but like chains began to fracture. His wings lowered fully now, the sharp glow around them flickering like dying firelight. The jack-o'-lantern face on his belly, the one that had grinned with cursed power, with monstrous glee, twitched and froze. Its expression shifted to something that almost resembled guilt. The great beast staggered back half a step. He looked at you, really looked at you, and in that moment he didn't see a target. He didn't see a creature to destroy. He saw a crying soul, trembling with pain. And he understood, because he had been there too. He was there. For 30 years he had cried in the shadows, begged the skies for someone, anyone to see the kindness behind his eyes, to not run from him, to not scream, to not fear his size, his voice, or his wings. And now here you were. You hadn't run, you hadn't attacked, you hadn't even screamed. You would just simply cried, "Oh crap," and begged him to stop, because you too had suffered, because you were like him. And that realization pierced through the cursed shell like a beam of moonlit light through black clouds. The monstrous glow that surrounded him shuddered. His wings faltered. The jack-o'-lantern faces began to flicker chaotically, twitching between rage, confusion, and sorrow. He fell to one knee with a mighty crash, the ground shaking beneath his weight, but there was no aggression in the motion, only exhaustion. The glow from his body flickered in and out like a dying candle, and he gritted his teeth, clawing at the glowing stem on his head, as if it were trying to tear the curse away. And then, between heavy breaths, you heard it again, this time spoken aloud with a strained, broken voice. I don't want to hurt you. His voice was deep, guttural, but shaking. I never did. His glowing eyes, so full of rage a moment ago, were now wide and wet. Tears from a monster. From Lugia. The cursed orange light still burned faintly within him, but no longer looked unstoppable. It looked like a prison, and deep inside it was a lonely, heartbroken Pokemon begging to be freed. What in the world? Hmm. Alright, guys. I said to the Lugia, you're not going to hurt me? Then why were you looking like you were about to attack me? Lugia's massive form remained crouched, wings tucked in tightly now, his glowing orange body shuddering with each breath like he was fighting something deep inside. The pumpkin stem on his head flickered weakly, casting eerie light over his trembling form. His claws clenched into the earth, not out of rage, but restraint. When he spoke, yep, his eyes slowly lifted toward you, and for the first time, the monster jack-o'-lantern eyes that had burned with fiery curse now looked ashamed. His mouth opened slightly, then in a voice broken by regret and pain, he answered quietly, because I wasn't in control. He looked down at his clawed hands, then to the glowing jack-o'-lantern face still pulsing weakly on his chest. The expression on it twitched again, trying to smile, but it faltered, warping with sorrow. When I got cursed, I wasn't just changed, I was split. There's something inside me now, something that feeds on pain, fear, loneliness. His voice quivered. It made me want to strike, made me believe I had to, that hurting someone would stop the ache, that if I lashed out first, I wouldn't be hurt again. He looked back at you, and for a moment, just a flicker, you saw the real Lugia in his expression. Not a monster, not a threat, just a hurting soul trying not to fall apart. I saw you, so small, so close, and something inside me twisted it. It told me you'd run, that you'd scream like the rest, that hurting you wouldn't prove or would prove I wasn't alone. He flinched again like the very truth of his words sickened him. Then softly, but you didn't scream. You cried, and now I see I was wrong. He turned his head slightly away, the lantern glow on his body dimming further, given it was losing strength against the tide of emotion now rising in him. I'm sorry. The words hung in the air, so fragile, so real. He wasn't looking at you with rage now, not confusion, but guilt, shame, and something more, hope. He didn't raise his claws, he didn't move, He just waited, wings pressed close to his sides like a creature that wasn't sure if he deserved your trust, but desperately wanted it. As if, deep down, he just needed someone, anyone to believe that there was still something out left of the real Lugia beneath the curse. What in the world? Alright, guys. It just says, wait. And it says, now that I'm not as terrified, I take a better look at the Pokemon. Now that I get a better look at you, you look familiar. Are you the legendary Pokemon Lugia? At your quiet question, the cursed creature lifted his head slightly. The glow from the jack-o'-lantern stem atop his head flickered weakly, no longer blazing with power, but dim and almost tired. His glowing orange eyes met yours, no longer filled with aggression, but with a heavy weight, like they carried decades of sorrow. You took a better look now. Through the swirling remains of the cursed aura, beyond the orange hues and jack-o'-lantern faces flickering on his wings and belly, you began to recognize the shape underneath. The wide wings with five-pronged fingers, the long, elegant tail, even if it now glowed with faint ember veins, the curved head crest, despite the curved stem growing from the top, his massive size, his majestic presence, even warped as it was. He looked like a creature straight from the mist, and suddenly it clicked. Your heart skipped. Yep. Are you the legendary Pokemon Lugia? He didn't answer at first, but you saw it, and the way his body slumped slightly, his wings lowering further, his eyes filled with something between grief and relief. Then he gave a slow, shallow nod. I am. His voice was soft and regretful, and though his current form twisted and pulsed with the remnants of the Halloween curse, there was no mistaking it now. Beneath the pumpkin orange glow, beneath the flicking jack-o'-lantern faces, beneath the sorrow and anger and years of isolation, stood Lugia, the real one, a lonely guardian of the sea, turned to a haunted creature by pain and magic he never wanted. He looked down at you again. You could see it in his eyes. He didn't want to hide anymore. Not behind the disguise, not behind the curse, and not from you. I was once I was once the protector of storms, the one who calmed the seas, but they all ran from me, screamed, and feared me. He pauses, then, you're the first to ask who I really am. His voice cracked, like someone remembering what it felt like to be seen. Aww. Alright, guys. I just asked Lugia, what happened to you? I've never seen a Lugia that looks like you before. You said something about a curse. Lugia lowered his massive head slowly, the green stem on top of his skull drooping like a withering leaf. The glow across his body dimmed further. The jack-o'-lantern face on his chest flickered between a grimace and a hollow, almost blank expression. No longer snarling, no longer grinning, just exhausted. When you spoke, yep. He closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them again, slower this time, like it took effort just to speak. It was 30 years ago. His voice echoed like a memory caught between thunder and a sigh. I only wanted to be loved. He stood a little straighter, but his wings remained curled tight against his sides. I flew from sea to sea, mountain to valley. I approached humans. I offered berries to young Pokemon. I sang the winds to sleep. I tried to show I wasn't something to fear. His eyes grew distant, lost in the past. But everywhere I went, they screamed. They ran. They called me a monster, a beast, a bird too big for this world. Godzilla, disaster bringer. Even the wild Pokemon, they wouldn't come near me. His claws under the earth slightly, not in rage, but in pain. And slowly, I stopped trying. I stayed hidden, watched them from afar. I watched them laugh and dress up on Halloween, carving pumpkins, playing together. He looked away now, and that night, the night they dressed like ghosts and monsters and smiled about it, I flew away, far, far away. I didn't want to watch anyone, or watch anymore. His voice dropped to a little whisper. That's when I found the castle. You saw his wings twitch slightly, his entire body trembling at the memory. There were pumpkins everywhere, glowing with eyes that watched me. And then a voice. It told me it understood my pain, that it could give me power, a way to stop being ignored, to be feared instead. I didn't even answer. The magic just wrapped around me, orange, bright, and wrong. It forced itself inside me. He clenched his claws and glanced down at the jack-o'-lantern face on his belly. It grinned momentarily, unwillingly, then snapped back into neutrality. When I woke up, I looked like this. His voice grew more bitter and strained. I was no longer just Lugia. I was something else. The curse gave me disguises, let me become whatever I needed to alert someone close. It let me trick them. And worst of all, he looked directly at you now, eyes full of guilt. It made me want to. He inhaled sharply, his chest rising, and the jack-o'-lantern face followed, glowing for a heartbeat before dimming again. It feeds on fear, on the feeling of being abandoned. The more I felt it, the more control it took. Another pause, and then quietly, that's why I tried to hurt you. I didn't even know why. I didn't recognize you, but the curse told me. The first one I found, I had to attack. It twisted my instincts. Let's see, I beat, but you cried, and your fear didn't give it power. It gave me control. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then, with a deep, trembling sadness, I don't want to be like this anymore. He looked down at his massive, cursed form, then back at you. His voice barely more than a whisper now. I want to be just Lugia again. Alright, guys. I said, wait, does that mean you were the little toad doll that was in front of me that had this friendly grin? I just remember smiling up at him, and then his smile turned to this creepy, horrifying smile. I was so terrified that I didn't understand what was going on, or even what happened to that toad doll. Lugia's glowing eyes lowered when you spoke those words, like they couldn't bear to meet yours. Your voice, though still shaken, was full of confusion and hurt. There was a long silence. The cursed Lugia bowed his head, the twisted stem atop it drooping low. The jack-o'-lantern face on his belly didn't flicker this time. It just sat still, like even it was ashamed. His voice, when it came, was low, hurt, and real. Yes, he breathed. That was me. He swallowed hard, his throat trembling, voice began to crack. I didn't mean for the disguise to look creepy. I didn't mean to scare you like that. The curse, it makes the smile stretch. The longer I wear the form, it gets tighter, wrong, and I can't stop it. He shut his eyes tightly as if trying to erase the memory. I saw you, small and innocent. I thought you'd be like the others. Run, scream, maybe even fight me. So I used the disguise the curse gave me. A friendly form, a sweet face. His claws curled slightly, but when you got close, when you smiled at me like I was actually safe to approach, it triggered something. The curse surged. I lost control. That's when the Toad Doll's smile twisted. He looked up at you now, eyes wide, regretful in every word. That smile wasn't meant to be real. It was the curse distorting me, twisting kindness into horror. And when I changed back, when I lunged, I wasn't fully aware. I only knew I had to attack. I didn't even remember it was you. The jugular on his belly twitched, but only slightly. And then softly, I saw you smile at me, and I tried to trick you. He blinked slowly. For the first time, you could see tears welling at the corners of his glowing orange eyes again, and you cried instead of running. You could have hated me, but you didn't. He exhaled slowly, voice shaking. That saved me more than you'll ever know. The massive Lugia gently lowered himself further to the forest floor until his body was no longer looming over you, but level, as if he were humbling himself before someone he felt he didn't deserve to stand above. The orange glow remained, but it was fading, because for the first time in 30 years, someone smiled at him and meant it. Hold on, guys. Alright, guys. I said, still a little worried. I saw you approach, and when I get right up to the Lugia's face, I gently nuzzle his beak. And I just tell, I want to be honest with you, just like you were with me. The reason I smile at the Totodile was because his species has always been sweet to me. Him and his evolutions have come. Oh my gosh. I said content, I'll frick you. When I've been in danger, and even take care of me when I had nowhere else to go. So when I saw that grin turn horrifying looking, I was extremely terrified. That's why I backed away. Even if I wanted to run, I definitely wouldn't have gotten far. I got lucky that I dodged your attack whenever you lunged at me. Here we go. The moment your smile racked her by slowly approached, Lugia froze, not out of fear, but from something else entirely. He didn't lift a claw. He didn't shift back. He simply watched you, eyes wide, glowing orange, softening with every step you took closer. The great cursed beast, whose power had once shattered waves and who have terrified whole regions, was now laying still like a wounded creature afraid to breathe too loud. His wings were tucked tight. His glowing jack-o'-lantern faces flickered like candlelight, barely hanging on. And then you reached him. Your tiny frame pressed gently against his massive beak-like snout, still pulsing with cursed energy. Your nose brushed it in a gentle nuzzle. The air held still. Lugia's body trembled faintly at your touch, not from the curse this time, but from emotion, from feeling something real. And then you spoke, your voice soft. He blinked. I want to be honest with you, just like you were with me. He blinked slowly, listening, quiet as a ghost. That's why I want to tell it I was, because it has been sweet to me. Helped me in the worst moments. They've protected me, given me love when I had nothing else. Oh, the jack-o'-lantern face on his chest dimmed slightly more, flicking like a dying ember. I looked lightly because it didn't feel right. I think I'm not. Oh my gosh. Your voice faltered gently, and Lugia's eyes closed, slowly and painfully. I say, if I wanted to run, I don't think I could have gone on dodged your attack because of luck. I didn't quite say it that way. Why would it put it like that? For a long moment, there was silence. Then, very slowly, Lugia leaned forward, not to attack, not to scare, but to press his forehead, the warm, glowing part just above his beak, gently against her tiny raptor head. It was emotion filled with care, so delicate for a creature so large. And a trembling voice, heavy with guilt and gratitude, he whispered, I'm sorry for stealing that face from them. I'm sorry for scaring you with something that used to make you feel safe. And the cursed glow across his body flickered more, this time visibly fading at the edges, like your touch and your words were slowly unraveling the dark magic around him. You didn't just dodge my attack. You saved me from becoming something I could never come back from. His massive body trembled again, but not from pain or rage. This time, it was from hope. Real hope. Because someone saw him, not the disguise, him, and nuzzled his beak, not of fear, but forgiveness. That's cute. Alright, guys. Here's what I said. I told you, I'm sorry about what happened to you. I'll tell you what, if you can promise to try and never hurt me or scare me like that ever again, I'll happily be your friend. Lugia's breath caught in his throat. You may have been small, so small in comparison to him, but in this moment your words carried a weight stronger than any storm he had ever summoned. If you can... Oh, here we go. The forest around you went still, not with dread, but with peace. Lugia didn't speak at first, his glowing eyes widened slightly. The entire body froze in stunned disbelief. His wings, once covered in shame, slowly began to relax to the sides. The jack-o'-lantern glow across his feathers flickered again, and then dimmed even further, like a cursed candle sputtering out against the wind of forgiveness. His massive form gently leaned down again, lowering his head all the way to the ground so your little raptor face was level with his. His eyes met yours, warm, watery, and glowing faintly with orange light that no longer looked dangerous, just vulnerable. You want to be my friend? He asked it like he didn't quite believe the words were real, like they were some impossible dream whispered to him long ago and finally answered after decades of silence. He took a shaky breath, and then he did what no one in 30 years had ever seen from the cursed form. He smiled! Not the twisted grin of the jack-o'-lantern curse, not a mask, not a disguise, but a real, small, sincere smile, faint and fragile, but his. Then he bowed his head to you fully, so humbly, so quietly, and said, I promise. A light shimmered across his body. The jack-o'-lantern face on his wings and belly dimmed completely for a brief moment, and the glow from his stem flickered like it was releasing something. The curse still lingered, but it had weakened. Your friendship, your kindness, your willingness to look past the monster and see the soul beneath had shaken the curse's grip more than anything ever had. Lugia leaned closer, pressing his forehead gently to your small one again. I won't hurt you. I won't scare you. Not ever again. He pulled back just a little, his glowing orange eyes softer now than you'd ever seen, and asked, quietly and cautiously, do you mean it? You'd really be my friend? Oh, that's cute as frick. Alright, guys. I just told Lugia. He was wondering if I was actually being serious about being his friend. I told him, yep, I mean it. Why wouldn't that be nice to my favorite legendary? If you want a friend, then you have one in me. And me. Lugia stared at you in stunned silence. The soft glow from his jack-o'-lantern markings didn't flare this time. It flickered gently like a quiet ember finally finding peace, warmth replacing its unnatural heat. You had said it so clearly and so honestly. My friend, you have one. Yep. Lugia's glowing eyes widened, and then his whole body trembled. Not with fear, not with pain, but with emotion so deep it shook him to his very core. A quiet gasp escaped his massive lungs, followed by a low, choked sound that almost resembled a sob. Tears welled at the corners of his eyes again, not of sorrow, but of relief, and of joy. Real joy, raw and overwhelming. Your favorite? He repeated softly. You you still see me that way? Hold on. Guys, right after I had to sneeze right before I paused that video. Right the first after I paused, I had to sneeze. So I'm just glad I paused it there. Let's see what it says. Let's see. He closed his eyes tightly, a tear slipping down his enormous, glowing cheek and trailing over the once menacing grin on his stomach, which now remained completely still, no longer twitching, no longer controlling him. For the first time in 30 years, someone loved him. Not in spite of what he'd become, but because they saw who he really was underneath it all. You, the tiny creature who had every reason to run, every creature to fear, every reason to fear, and yet chose to stay, to forgive, and to care. When he opened his eyes again, his whole body felt lighter. The cursed orange aura hadn't vanished, but it had lost its grip. You were breaking the curse with friendship, with love, and compassion. He slowly reached out with a massive claw, moving with such gentle precision that not even a blade of grass beneath his talon bent the wrong way, and extended it towards you, almost shyly. Then, if it's okay, he whispered, can I call you my friend too? He blinked once. My first friend. That's actually very cute and sweet. Alright, guys. I said, he asked if he could call me his friend. And I told him, yes, you can. If you keep your promise of never trying to attack me or scare me like that again, you always have a forever friend in me. Even if your body is a much scarier looking jack-o'-lantern form. Lugia's massive glowing eyes shimmered as your words washed over him like a tide he had waited decades to feel. His enormous form trembled, not from power, not from curse, but from something pure. Hope. Those words alone might have undone him, but what followed broke the last barrier the curse had built around his heart. Uh, hey. A deep sound rumbled from his chest. Not a growl, but a quiet, overwhelmed, relieved laugh. It was rusty and shaky, like it hadn't been used in years, but it was real. He leaned his massive head close again, gently resting the tip of his snout against your small side, carefully as though touching something delicate and precious. His warmth, now no longer oppressive or cursed, spread softly through your feathers, as that you could feel his heart beating, slow and deep beneath the layers of pumpkin orange light. You mean it? He whispered. Even looking like this, you still want to be my forever friend? The jack-o'-lantern face on his chest finally softened, not grinning, not snarling, just still, like it too had found rest. Then softly, like a secret he'd never told anyone, I'll keep my promise, no matter what. He slowly drew his wing around your tiny form, not to trap or cage, but to shield you, to curl protectively in her soft arc like a blanket of glowing feathers and fading curse light. I've never had someone stay before, but I'll never let myself scare you again. He pauses, then softly with a voice like thunder turned gentle, thank you for saving me. And in that moment, moonlight clearing, between the haunted pumpkins and cursed castle far beyond, something finally changed. Not in the forest, not in the curse, but in him. For the first time in 30 years, Lugia was not alone, and never would be again. That's cute. Do you know what's going on with those pumpkins on your stomach and wings? I noticed they keep changing facial expressions, like how they looked evil. when you were trying to attack me. I even noticed them shifting between different expressions when you were hesitating to attack me. Why did they change face expressions like that? Oh, my boss! Oh!